Hey, welcome to my channel. Well, today was the day that DJI finally announced the enhancements they were making to the old 2016 Mavic Pro. Now, if you've ever bought a car, you ever notice that one year you buy a car and the next year there's a newer model out? It's got maybe a better engine, it's got some newer electronics inside, different paint schemes, all sorts of things. So that's basically what DJI did with the old 2016 Mavic Pro. They just upgraded it to make it even better. Now, one thing they did that I think is really cool is they offer the exact same model. You can get this in something called a Mavic 2 Zoom, that's just the camera, or a Mavic 2 Pro. Once again, the only difference is the camera. And what they're doing is they're offering users the option that if you buy one, say you bought the Mavic 2 Zoom, and later you said, I want to upgrade to the Mavic 2 Pro, you can actually send this back in, pay a fee, and they will put the Mavic 2 Pro camera on your drone. Isn't that the wildest thing? Now, out of the entire event, for me, the only thing that caught my eye was the new hyperlapse feature that they're adding to the Mavic 2 Zoom and Mavic 2 Pro. That is pretty cool because hyperlapse is something that's been around for a while. Even the Paradinafi has it. But the Paradinafi kind of does it, and it's really reliant on how I fly to make it work. Whereas DJI has an algorithm built in that the drone will stay really stable, follow a certain path as you want it to, and it will then capture the images and produce a hyperlapse, which is pretty neat. Better battery, you get 31 minutes flight time. One cool thing they did was sensors, so you have front sensors, rear sensors, side sensors, top sensor, bottom sensors. And I bet you somebody at DJI got a promotion because somebody said, you know, when it's landing, wouldn't it be pretty cool if it shoots a light out the bottom in case you're landing early in the morning or late at night? That's genius. So yeah, the new model actually shoots an LED light out the bottom so it can light up the area it's landing, so it can see if that area is actually smooth or not in low light. Now, of course, DJI has to upgrade the transmission because every time they put out a drone, they make the transmission better. So you get pretty much the same remote as we're used to now, but the drone, according to the specs, can go up to 8,000 meters. That's 8 kilometers. And in addition, because of this new OcuSync 2.0, you can now receive 1080p video transmission at a much farther range. And because the transmission is so fast, it can actually send you the photos it takes instantly almost, massive size photos right to your actual phone or tablet. And speaking of the remote, I should also mention that the new remote has the same feature as the Mavic Air remote, and that is that the sticks come off and fit in the front. One of the biggest complaints all drone pilots have is how noisy drones are. I don't know, these things are just so noisy, they sound like a pack of bees. Well, DJI said, how about we release this model with the low noise props, with the new ESCs and the new higher torque motors that are low noise. And ever since the dawn of drones, when somebody walks up to you and you're flying a drone, they all say, how fast does it go? So for some reason, DJI always makes their drones go faster. So these new Mavics go 44 miles per hour or 72 kilometers an hour. And if you look at the old Mavic from the side, it's very efficient for the wind. Well, the new Mavics are supposed to be 19% even more efficient. Now, this past January, when the Mavic Air was released, DJI added onboard memory, which was a really nice feature. So you don't have to have your micro SD card, especially if you forget it or it's full. It will actually record onto the actual drone itself with the onboard memory. And of course, DJI did the same thing, and they left it at 8 gigs in the new drones. Now, we've always known DJI to make drones extremely smart and autonomous, and it's no different with the new Mavics. So what they did is they made the APAS system even better. So that means when it's doing autonomous flight, it can actually go around objects and all over the place. So it's less chance of it getting confused and just stopping when it sees an obstacle. The second thing they did is the active track. Now, we love to use active track to follow us, follow a car, follow a person, follow a motorcycle, follow a boat, and it works, but it's not great. So they improved it by adding a third sensor. So in the past, it only used the 2 sensors right here. So now it uses these 2 sensors plus the actual camera. So that makes it much more efficient for following an object. And this is the portion of the video where I'm going to quickly cover the 2 camera options for your Mavic 2 Zoom and your Mavic 2 Pro. Now you're wondering, wow, these cameras look so awesome. Are they better than the camera on the Autel Evo or the Phantom 4 Pro? The answer is possibly, but I would say they're more similar than better. So here we go. Let's start off with the Mavic 2 Zoom, which has the 1/2.3 CMOS sensor. What makes that camera interesting to me is it actually has an optical zoom. Now, an optical zoom is kind of hard on a little camera, and on a little tiny camera like that, it's even much more difficult. We do have them on cell phones where they take those tiny cameras and they put an optical zoom in them. Now, the great thing about an optical zoom is it really does improve your image. If you're sitting there flying and you zoom in on something with an optical zoom, it's a lossless type zoom, so the image looks really good. It also has a digital zoom, so you can zoom in ×2, and then you can use the digital zoom to go ×4, which is not too bad. I'm sure the image is going to look really good, even in digital zoom, because the PRO uses some sort of system where it's kind of like a digital zoom, and it looks super smooth on the PRO. So I'm going to say on the optical zoom, it's going to look even better. Now, the only problem I saw when looking at the specs of the Mavic 2 zoom from a photographer's perspective is that in order to zoom in, it has to then adjust the focus, and it uses a contrast focusing system. Contrast focusing systems work outstanding when there's tons of light. However, in low light, they have some difficulty on focusing. So if you're flying at night and there's not a lot of light, you may have difficulty to actually focus the camera, especially if you try to zoom. Now, I can see the camera on the Mavic 2 zoom being awesome for filming landscape because it's got a very wide field of view, a wider field of view than the Mavic 2 Pro. Now, the Mavic 2 zoom records at 100 megabits per second and it can do 4K at 30 FPS. Now, its claim to fame is not only can it do that hyperlapse that I love, but it can also do a really, really good dolly zoom because it's optical zoom. Now, you've seen the dolly zoom on the PRO. The PRO has it, and I think it's pretty cool. So I can just imagine on an optical zoom, it must be amazing. Now we'll jump over to the Mavic 2 Pro with that 1-inch CMOS sensor. It's got the little Hasselblad name on it, so I don't know if that's the actual lens. It's definitely not the sensor because the sensor is probably a Sony sensor. It might be the software and the electronics inside. I'm really not sure, but that name on the front of the camera speaks of quality. Now, one thing I found really amazing about this camera from a photographer's perspective is it can actually do, in manual mode, ISO of 100 all the way up to 12,800. There is no consumer grade DJI drone that can do that. Even the Phantom 4 Pro can't do that. So this sensor is pretty amazing. Now, DJI says that the dynamic range is massively improved in this here camera, so it records 1 billion colors. And not only that, it means that when you're flying around and you got all those shades and shadows and all that good stuff in the morning, in the evening, in the daytime when the sun's high in the sky, it will pick up more detail in those shadows and make your images, especially photos, look so much better, and video will look, well, pretty awesome. Now, I should mention that on the old Phantom 4 Pro, this camera is a 1-inch CMOS sensor. So is it the same as the one on the Mavic 2 Pro? No, it's not. This one here, the electronics in it and the mechanical abilities in it, it's totally different. However, this old one has the ability to use a mechanical shutter, whereas the new one on the Mavic 2 Pro can only use an electronic shutter. And does that make a difference? Probably not, because most people wouldn't notice a difference. But the new Mavic 2 Pro does have a variable aperture, just like the old Phantom, and that is, it goes from 2.8, f2.8, all the way up to f11. So that's really nice because now I can get some depth of field happening. Now, on the Mavic 2 Zoom, the aperture is not variable. However, it does change. As you zoom in, less light is entered into the camera, so your aperture will change. So you basically have two aperture settings on the Mavic 2 Zoom, which are automatically adjusted based on how you zoom. And on the Mavic 2 Pro, you have many aperture settings and you can adjust them manually to achieve the desired effect in your photos. One thing DJI did on purpose was they throttled the Mavic 2 Pro camera. It can only record at 4K 30 frames per second at 100 megabits, whereas the good old Phantom 4 Pro from 2 years ago can record at 4K 60 frames per second at 100 megabits. So I'm going to put the links below to the DJI website where you can buy these two drones, and you will see that they are massively expensive, and I mean massively. So if you'd like to buy the Mavic 2 Zoom, it's going to cost you $1,249 US, and that does not come with the Fly More package. And if you wish to buy the Mavic 2 Pro, that's going to cost you $1,449 US, and that does not come with the Fly More package. If you want the Fly More package for either drone, it will cost you an extra $319 US. And you don't have to buy it right away, you can buy it in the future. So there you go, the enhancements to the Mavic Pro are out. The only thing DJI did not add that I was hoping they would was the color. I was hoping they would go with a different color, but they sort of kept similar colors. Now, if you order your Mavic 2 Zoom today or your Mavic 2 Pro today, apparently DJI will ship it tomorrow, and you should have it then about 3 days after that, which is pretty cool. We'll have to see if that actually happens. So what are your thoughts? Do you own a Mavic Pro or a Mavic Air? Are you going to keep them or sell them? Are you going to buy the Mavic 2 Zoom, the Mavic 2 Pro? Are you going to maybe buy a PRO, or maybe you have a PRO? You're going to buy a Spark, or maybe you have a Spark. Are you going to buy an Autel Evo, or maybe you have an Autel Evo? What are you going to do? Put a comment below and let me know. As soon as I get my Mavic 2, yes, one is on the way. As soon as I receive it, I will do a bunch of comparisons with all the drones that are on the market today, and we'll check out how good it really is, because we've all seen in the past that whenever a DJI drone comes out, there's always some sort of bug or glitch in it, and you won't hear about it at first, not by the people reviewing it today. They're going to tell you how great it is, but in about 2 weeks to 3 weeks from now, somebody's going to find a glitch, and then we're going to hear all about it. It's going to be Glitchgate. But until then, keep watching. We'll have more reviews on the way, and the Mavic 2 will be one of them. Take care.